Your Lordship, the Right Reverend Robert Mihirwa Akiki, Bishop of Fort Portal and Vice Chairman of the Uganda Episcopal Conference, Honorable John Chrysostom Muyingo, State Minister for Higher Education and keynote presenter, the Rector, National Seminary Ggaba, the Rectors of major seminaries in Uganda, distinguished guests, Reverend Monsignors, Fathers, Brothers and Sisters, invited guests, our deacons and seminarians, ladies and gentlemen. I greet you all and welcome you to St. Mary's National Major Seminary, and in particular to today's historical event, the public lecture. An auspicious occasion, opening the ground in preparation for our seminary Golden Jubilee, slated for the 12th of November. I'm Reverend Father Darius Magunda, a formator here at the National Seminary Ggaba, and your MC for today. Permit me now to introduce to you today's program. We have the guests already here and all of us gathered. We shall be opening with the national anthem, the seminary anthem, an opening prayer led by the General Spiritual Director, introductory remarks by the Rector, and then we shall have the keynote address by Honorable John Chrysostom Muyingo. That will be followed by a vote of thanks by the Dean of Studies, and then the MC will introduce to us the moderators of today's public lecture. The first moderator will introduce the presenters in today's public lecture. The rest of the program, we have 2 presentations in the morning session, punctuated by a break, a tea break. But at the end of the first presentation, we shall have the inauguration of the Jubilee anthem, which we shall all have the pleasure to listen to. After the second presentation and discussion, which will be from 11:30 to 12:30, we shall have remarks by the chairman of the Uganda Episcopal Commission on priestly formation. And this will be followed by lunch from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And then the third session will resume, will begin from 2:30 to 3:30, and will be followed by discussions. And lastly, at 3:30, we shall have a speech by the guest of honor and the concluding prayer, which we hope will end by 4 p.m. today. We welcome you once again, and we wish you a fruitful participation in today's public lecture. And now at this juncture, I would like to ask you to stand, and we sing the national anthem, followed by the seminary anthem, the prayer, and introductory remarks by the Rector. Thank you very much.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Praise Him, praise Him, praise Him in the morning, praise Him in the noon time. Praise Him. Loving Father, we thank you for this great day. We request you to send us the Holy Spirit, bless us, and bless all the activities of the day. We make a prayer through Christ our Lord. The Lord be with you. May Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Thank you very much, our dear General Spiritual Director, Father John Baptist Sonko. At this juncture, I would like to invite the Rector, National Seminary Ggaba, to make the introductory remarks. And after that, he will invite the Keynote Speaker of the day to come and address us.
On behalf of Ggaba National Major Seminary, I warmly welcome the Right Reverend Dr. Robert Muhirwa Akiki, Ordinary of Fort Portal Diocese, and our guest of honor today, and Vice Chairman of the Uganda Episcopal Conference. Akiki, you are most welcome. I particularly welcome Honorable Dr. John Chrysostom Muyingo, State Minister for Higher Education, who is our keynote addresser at this lecture. Honorable, you are most welcome. I warmly welcome Dr. Joseph Chisoga, Dr. Silverio Chinomugisha, Mr. Anthony Matega, our main discussants. You are most welcome. I welcome Dr. Josemary Sebunya and Professor Vincent Bajire, our moderators today. I warmly welcome the rectors of the major seminaries and all of you, our distinguished guests and participants. You are most welcome. Today's pre-celebration activity is a great academic and social moment of reflection as we look at the 50 years of Ggaba National Seminary. I'm particularly grateful to the Seminary Academic Department led by the Dean of Studies, Father Dr. Jude Charles Juko, for having organized this lecture under the theme, St. Mary's National Seminary at 50 years, as we look at our scores, challenges, and prospects. As we celebrate, we take this great opportunity to reflect on our life and mission. Many things have happened and many have changed in the academic field as well as in the general setting of this seminary over the past 50 years. This Golden Jubilee, therefore, has provided us with a singular and unique opportunity to reflect on our successes, our challenges, and then to figure out our future plans. How far, we may ask ourselves, has the seminary vision, which is to form holy, convinced, committed, well-equipped, and pastoral-oriented Catholic priests been realized so far? How has it shaped our seminary life and our products hereafter? The seminary, in addition to being a formation house, is also a place of intellectual enterprise and an arena of theological development. In recent years, I have in mind the theological and pastoral publications of our beloved late Dr. Benedict Setuma, his numerous articles. I have in mind the publications of fathers Dr. Vincent Sekabira, Dr. Jude Juko, Dr. Charles Senyondo, Father Senkubuge, and of our students who have produced some academic articles. The theological weeks in the 80s and 90s that were held here in Ggaba, they were moments of intellectual development and contribution to the theological academia. At 50 years now, we want to evaluate our mission and our activities, both in the formation and the academic fields. In today's discussions, therefore, we want to look at the rapidly changing society, where our candidates are coming from and where they are sent to serve. The candidates we train are from such a society, and to such a society, they are going to offer their services. If they are to be relevant and adequate, we need to have a reflection today and readjust our goals and modus operandi. Many priests who have gone through this seminary over the 50 years are today change makers. They are serving various communities and institutions in Uganda and beyond. We are therefore interested not only in what is happening here, but also in what happens hereafter. Effective, relevant, and adequate formation should translate into a relevant, effective, and reliable evangelizers, credible leaders of society. You are all most welcome once again to this public lecture. Today, as the family of Ggaba, we look at Ggaba's past with gratitude and pride, at her present with courage, and we wish to face the future from now onwards with enthusiasm and trust. May God bless you all for the deliberations of this day. Now I take this opportunity to invite our own, our beloved Minister, Honorable John Chrysostom Muyingo. By the way, my church is in Kampala, Mukona, and everywhere, but he stems from Luwero. Honorable, I'd like to thank you very much for having accepted. When I went to his office, he had a lot of things, including being in Fort Portal today. Bishop will tell you, he's supposed to be in Fort Portal today. I think he will take a chopper and attend to other duties. But we thank you that you accepted to come and grace this occasion as Ggaba Seminary looks at her life in the last 50 years. Honorable Doctor, you are most welcome.
He's asking me whether I should take that sit down or stand, but you know, short people always want to be seen. And that's the only way of seeing. My Lord Bishop, the Vice Chairman of the Episcopal Conference, our Secretary, the Secretary General of the Episcopal Conference, the Rector of this National Seminary, my own father from my place. Why don't I address you as my colleagues? Would that be fair? I want to respect all the protocol as it was presented by the Rector. Ladies and gentlemen, in case there are ladies and gentlemen here, but I think they are. Good morning, everybody. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to be in this place again. It's about 20 years ago when I last visited National Seminary, and I'd been invited to come and be part of a similar reflection, which I enjoyed very much, and I still remember the many great things that were said. It's a pleasure indeed to meet some of my old friends. There are people I've not met for quite a while, but when I saw them today smiling, I said, thanks be to God. I bring you very warm and prayerful greetings from the First Lady and the Minister of Education and Sports, who is aware that I'm here briefly because I'm accompanying her husband. I'm taking the husband to Luwero, but said, you go and convey my love and warm greetings to everybody out there. Sometime back, your lector, who happens to be my friend, asked me to prepare to make a keynote address for this gathering. I asked myself this time, the other time I knew why. This time I kept asking, why? About what? Why me? And up to now I've not got the answers, why he picked on me. You help me to answer why. I asked myself, could it be because of late I've been complaining quite a lot about the respect and the dignity of the products of the, of this great institution? The good thing I would complain in Uganda, ekitiibwa ky'omusaserodoti kise. Those days for us, during our days, okugaa nti Father wuyajja, everybody would humble himself, wait for something great. Ekitiibwa ky'omusaserodoti kise. These days it is even very common to find in Namugongo, when Mass is going on, people with that badge, Kisubi Seminary badge, very unique, moving around, eating and, not bothered. Ekitiibwa ky'omusaserodoti kise. Yesterday I opened, there is that page, I don't know whether you are connected to the Rubaga Foundation, Mukutu. Somebody was complaining bitterly. These days you go to church expecting a message, you go empty-handed. But those days, ekitiibwa ky'omusaserodoti, whenever he would do so, even if he would just look around like this, smile a bit, the message would be heavily loaded. Ekitiibwa ky'omusaserodoti kikoze eki? As times I've been complaining, I've been telling them, we have omukisa, we have the luck that we interact and meet these people almost every day. But our people are continuing to be extremely poor. Why not emphasize enjiri ey'enkulaakulana, enjiri ey'okuva mu bwavu, enjiri ey'obugagga? I've been complaining, sometimes loudly. I said, could it be? There's so many complaints that this friend of mine is trying to take me where I will be crucified. I've been complaining. Ekitiibwa, that development message, which is very loaded in the Bible, is no longer being passed on properly to the wananchi. What about omusaserodoti? Is he being looked at, the father, is he being looked at as a unifier, a father for everybody? Hasn't politics also come in to divide us up? It was worse last elections. I said, could it be this complaint I've been raising that this man wants to classify? Ladies and gentlemen, the questions have been many in my mind. Up to now, not understood why. But after interacting with him, I discovered that he picked on me just to tickle your brains into a discussion that will enable us to re-examine ourselves on what we do, as he said, in fulfilling our mission. Re-examine ourselves, whether we are still focused to our vision, the vision our founders developed for this institution. Are we still focused? That's what I discovered. That's how I understood now my mandate, this morning. Of course, this will give us a deeper and a meaningful perspective to the Golden Jubilee celebrations. I hope you are conversant with you've read about Abraham Lincoln, that youngest American president, when I talk about vision. One time, when he had just been, I think he's the president who served the shortest time. as he was immediately after taking over the office, he went to visit the NASA headquarters. This is where men jump and to go onto the moon. And he asked people to take him around the way I'm about to do to my brother here, take me around and see. Lincoln picked on, as he was moving around the corridors, he picked on that old man dressed in rags and sweeping and mopping almost everywhere, like some people do here. And he decided to give that man a hug and a handshake. People wondered what was the problem. So Lincoln asked him, "Old man, what do you do?" The old man said, "Oh, Your Excellency, every morning I wake up to help America send at least one man onto the moon." You see this man with a big picture. Do we have that picture in our arrangements? I think this is one of the things I think we are going to help ourselves. That's why I'm saying, if I understood my vision very well, my Luvengo today, my responsibility today very well, I think it's just to tickle you into a discussion that will generate ideas to think through how committed we are to our vision, how we are looking at our mission, and many, many things. Of course, I must congratulate you, if this is correct, I must congratulate you for taking off time to think through, to re-examine the way you do things. You remember that great thinker, Socrates, who said, "Life that is not re-examined is not worth living." Your life in this seminary, as far as we are concerned, is worth living because we are going to re-examine it. I want to thank you very much in advance. I guess that most of you, when you heard of the forthcoming events of the seminary, your minds went straight to the big party of eats and drinks, and maybe to a well-attended mass celebrated by many priests. I remember my days as a seminarian. Whenever they say, we had a big celebration in Nyenga Seminary one time, celebrating, I think, 50 years. All I expected, I hope you are not going to fall into this trap, all I expected is big eating, a big party, many bishops, priests coming. I hope that is not the case today. Marking 50 years of existence of an institution like this one means much more than partying. We take this opportunity to recall the beginning of the seminary, the purpose, the goals for which it was established, and then look at the achievements attained over time. It's also an opportune moment to reflect on the institutional challenges and then get our future plans clearly set. The Church has over the centuries taken a leading role in the various social aspects of her people. The Church's contribution to the health, education, economic sectors is evident to us. Here in Uganda, the first educational and healthcare institutions were established by the Church. And we acknowledge and appreciate, as a government, the foresightedness of the missionaries of those days. We really appreciate them. National major seminaries are part of the Church's effort to educate and train various people for the good of the society. The training of priests who eventually head and guide communities goes far beyond serving the spiritual needs of the people. Bishops and the priests are part of the transforming agents of society for the good, and not only of the believers, but also the entire society. So when I see corruption in government, funny things taking place in the country, one first question I ask myself, are my people in the seminary doing enough? Although I look at it that way, there are quite a number of achievements we have made. 50 years of foundation of Ggaba National Seminary is a very wonderful landmark, which we cannot afford to ignore. I checked the statistics. I found that the statistics shows that for the first 50 years, our National Seminary has produced almost 2,000 priests. I think we need to clap for this, isn't it? I look at the 2,000, all of them going to Uganda society, effectively performing. I don't see any stealing from another. I even see 19 bishops have been manufactured from here. And many lay pastoral agents serving society all over the country. There are also many. These individuals educated and trained in this seminary are today the leaders and the game changers of our society in Uganda and even beyond. And I'm one of the products. And I consider myself a game changer because I went through the seminary. Bishops, and I'm very proud of that, by the way. I'm very proud that I went through the seminary, and it's because of the seminary that I'm what I am. I'm very proud. And when I was appointed minister, maybe it also explains why I've stayed in that office for long, I told my president that I'm not coming to be any other politician. I came to evangelize through politics. And I think I've done it because I went through the seminary. Yeah, I found when there were no prayers in the ministry, I said, so long as I'm here as a minister, whatever activity, we must start with prayer, we must close with prayer, and that's what happens there in the ministry. I thank God for preparing me to be a prayerful man. Bishops and priests have, over the years, one, shaped the spiritual and moral lives of people. This service leads to a peaceful and harmonious society. Two, priests have founded schools and hence directly promoted education and transformation of society. Three, these are achievements we need to be proud of. Many pastoral agents have directly initiated socio-economic activities in agriculture, in health, microcredit schemes, and charitable endeavors, which have very positively impacted on the Ugandan society. As government, we appreciate this. I look at the initial goals. When you look at the goals, one, I want us to look at the need for local clergy, Africa taking charge of its affairs. When you read the works, the writings of the late Father John Mary Waligo, he did a lot as far as tracing and explaining the phases of African Christianization as far as it's concerned. In his work, Training Indigenous Clergy in Uganda, he tracks the founding of seminaries in Uganda, and I want to invite all of you interested in look up the latest research. The founding of Ggaba National Seminary was remotely in line with the Tridentine innovations of establishing seminaries in dioceses, local churches, but more particularly in the spirit of the Second Vatican Council of promoting and training local clergy. To a big extent, this objective has been achieved in the past 50 years of Ggaba, and I want to congratulate you. Many diocesan priests have been trained here and are still being trained. However, much as Africans are today evangelizing their fellow Africans, we need to ask ourselves how far we have gone regarding managing our affairs. I would like to know, and maybe this lecture will bring the matter out, how far Ggaba has gone in bringing up homemade theological, social, organization, and ecclesiastic systems which reflect our situation, our African needs, and our African challenges. I want you to reflect on that. Attention must be paid to bringing up candidates who have the capacity to handle our local conditions and needs. Are our local clergy relevant to the local African? Or for our case, are they relevant for Ugandan situation? Establishment of seminaries and training of indigenous clergy was meant, I would like to say, to Africanize our affairs and come up with relevant solutions. However, this does not mean independence and a separation from the universal church, but rather contextualization of Christianity and church life. The founding of such church institutions coincided with Uganda's independence wave. Of course, the mid-1960s and the 70s were times with a great feeling of and desire for Africa to manage its own affairs. The clergy should play a major role in this direction. Uganda is still lagging behind in the proper efforts to shape her destiny politically, economically, even education-wise. Our local church is still also suffering from dependency syndrome. How is the clergy today prepared to form and lead communities which bring out their potential? A society that can satisfactorily manage her affairs. The dependence syndrome is a big stumbling block to development and self-realization of the church and the state as well, and Uganda in particular. Uganda is still greatly looking at external players for handling her economic and social challenges. We spend much of the time going to Washington. For what? For resources. And as we get those resources, they dictate what is going to happen. We are giving you 1 million, you must handle it this way. Even some of us who are in education, we are emphasizing research. Much of the resources that come from outside, and they will tell you what their interest is, and that's what you research into. What can be done to reasonably take charge of our affairs? It's the question I'm asking, which you should be asking at various levels. Does our seminary promote rightful attitude and efforts towards a genuinely self-conscious people and a contextualized African church? Today, as we look at the past 50 years, we need to point out what our training has achieved in the academia and otherwise, to Africanize our processes and solutions. If we continuously depend on external players economically, we should remember, as Thomas Sankara said, he who feeds you controls you. This is the point I'm making. The second point is about national unity. I would like you to find time and think seriously about national unity. Post-independence Uganda was evidently politically polarized. Politically polarized. The then political groupings were clearly influenced by religion and ethnicity, mainly. Efforts to realize a united independent Uganda were certainly in place, but with enormous hurdles. On the part of the Catholic Church, having a national seminary at such a moment was a great chance to train priests with a national perspective. Don't you think so, people? That was a big chance. Have we lost it? It was hoped that pastoral agents from all over Uganda, trained in the same system here, would be instrumental in fostering national unity and reconciliation, beginning with a reasonable period of studying together in the seminary, and then put that into a larger context of a united Uganda, united society. Priests, as people in charge of communities and various institutions, are daily in touch with the masses. Their actions and plans certainly have an enormous multiplier effect. You may not have noted, some of you, but I'll ask you to note as I go back to sit, take my seat. The way I walk is exactly the way my lector used to walk when we were still seminarians. You can see the influence. Those of you who didn't have a chance to live with you, mine is now late, pious, Pio, Father Pio. And when you look at all the priests who are in my category, the way they behave is exactly Pio's way of behavior. Their actions and plans certainly have an enormous multiplier effect, I said. As we mark the 50 years of Ggaba's existence, because we spend a lot of time with you. That's why you have so much influence on even the way we think, the way we walk. But why have we failed to influence that unity? As we mark the 50 years of Ggaba's existence, we need to revitalize these very important objectives of the Founding Fathers. Priests are social influencers in many aspects. If there's so many people who are trained here go to the society with the proper attitude on national unity, so much can be realized as we continue to struggle for a united Uganda. Here, everybody should work towards that. It can be very interesting. Work will be easy. We are still challenged as a nation. Genuine unity and peaceful coexistence are still superficial and shaky. I wanted to give me examples, but I need to be very careful. I saw some camera people here. I think training, but you have understood. I think training at Ggaba must pay particular attention to bringing up priests, for sure, who are enthusiastic about and ready to work for the United Uganda. Your products must be promoters of reconciliation, must be promoters of unity and a national consciousness. This will not come out of the blue. Seminarians must live this way while still here. What next? I just want to, there's a gentleman called, I call him my Savakristo, he's called Mr. Siempa. I don't know whether he is. That gentleman. I want him to ask him to share with you that what happens on the Mukutu, Kampala, Mr. Siempa, what is it called? Lubanga Cathedral Foundation. You see what the Christians are saying about you. I wanted to share, but those camera people. While acknowledging Ggaba's specific character as a formation house for future church ministers, the seminary is also an academic institution. Theological, pastoral, and social studies are approached in the same way like institutions of higher learning do. Students here pursue diplomas and degrees in theology, pastoral, and some social studies. Over the past 50 years, Ggaba has awarded certificate diplomas and degrees, though in affiliated status. You are this Albania? After such a long time in the academic arena, Ggaba National Seminary ought to have developed and initiated academic programs which can lead to awarding of its own degrees. Why not? Mwingo is the minister in charge. Why should you wait for the CDLA? I asked Mary Okwakol, professor, who is in charge of National Council for Higher Education. Asked her yesterday, why hasn't he given permission to Ggaba to operate as a fully-fledged university? He said, Mary is a Catholic. Can you hear that? He said, those people have all that is needed, but they have never asked for it. I hope my bishop is hearing. My bishop, I'm saying that all efforts must be undertaken in the next phase to lead this seminary to a higher academic level. In other words, to a fully established university. Government, under the teachers' policy, is saying within the next 8 years, nobody will be allowed to enter any of our classrooms to teach without a degree. We want to prepare. Our government recognizes that the most important gift you can give to this country is quality education. And the quality education depends extremely much on the quality of the teacher. That's why we are saying the teacher will be well facilitated, remunerated. We have started with scientists. Those of you who did the arts, don't complain. Your day is about to come. Highly trained, even if you are teaching nursery. But I imagine what will happen when that policy, when we start biting, and my friend in a castle said, please, sorry, you cannot enter here because my bishop has heard. Bishop, I'm calling for a fully established university. Socially useful faculties can be started without compromising the purpose for which the seminary was founded. Many more people can profit from this institution in case social, economic, development and health faculties are put in place. In addition to the theological faculty, moving towards a fully fledged university would also enable some lay people like me to get access to theological studies. Why do you want to keep it to yourselves? Is it possible? You have allowed me to pick whatever nonsense there is on the internet. Why not come here so that you prepare me very well to go and evangelize? Imagine I'm evangelizing over something I have very little knowledge. No, those days are gone. I think up to now, this seems to be a prerogative of only the priests, prospective priests, and some few religious sisters. You keep us away. Why? You don't want us to join you when it comes to going to Christ? Kale. We already have examples of religious formation institutions which also serve a wide academic cause. There is something very near here. The Catholic University of Eastern Africa is a very good example. By the way, some of you have taken off time to go and see what's happening in these developed countries. Lay people are helping the priests so much if they have the correct information. And we are ready to do it. You make me in charge of evangelizing to cabinet. Oh, I'll do it with a lot of happiness. Give me the tools. Why don't I conclude? It's a great opportunity we have today to look at the life of Ggaba Seminary after 50 years of foundation. It's a moment to assess the goals of these institutions and how far they have been realized. We have all reasons to celebrate and to give thanks to God for all that has been achieved so far. I wish you nice and fruitful deliberations as we forge a way forward for the next 50 years. What should Ggaba be like in the next 50 years? That's the question I want you to stay with. What should the pastoral agents to be equipped with in order to be relevant in the present and the future rapidly changing society? Seriously think through that. New times. By the way, the priests who are coming out, and plus of my colleagues, the teachers, were big troubles. Big troubles, and you need really to think through the training. Which big troubles? You go out thinking that you are the only one who has the knowledge. Somebody you are evangelizing to has read the entire Bible, has read the interpretation of everything. On Sunday, you go thinking you are the one who is going to say something useful. He has all that he needs to from the internet. New times and new challenges demand new answers. May God bless Ggaba. Thank you very much, organizers, for inviting me, and I wish you the best celebrations for God and my country.
I'm not qualified to cast the vote of thanks. I will ask the Dean of Studies, National Seminary, Ggaba, to come and do that. Thank you very much.
With Mary in a gratitude to God, that is the theme of our Jubilee celebration. My Lord Bishop, the guest of honor, on behalf of everyone here and those following on Zoom, I profoundly thank you, Honorable Minister Jesse Miyingo, our own, for the inspirational, informative, and thought-provoking address you have given us. The thoughts you have shared with us show the immensity of knowledge in the area of priesthood formation and priestly life. And of course, your keen interest in the mission of the church. The audience is now aware that Honorable Minister willingly accepted our request to give the keynote address. But later on, a task came his way to accompany the President to Ruel today, in a few hours to come. He never turned us down. He made sure he first comes and fulfill the commitment he made with us. We therefore owe you a special vote of thanks for that. We look forward to receiving you again here, so that you may continue to share with us your constructive thoughts as we have tasted and testified. May God bless you, and we wish you a safe journey back home, safe journey to Ruel.
Thank you very much, our Dean of Studies, Father Jude Juko. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to recognize the presence of the rectors of the major seminaries. We have the rector of Gulu Halokulum National Seminary, Father Olwain, you're most welcome. We have the rector of St. Imbaga Major Seminary, International Seminary, they say. Welcome. May I ask the vocations directors present to stand up for recognition? Vocations directors, in case we have any. Would like to recognize, yes, welcome. Would like to recognize the members of the Jubilee Organization Committee. Please stand up for recognition, including our students. Members of the Jubilee Organization Committees, please stand up for recognition. And we have the Communications Director, the Uganda Episcopal Conference, Father Philip Odi. You are most welcome. We shall introduce the other members as time goes on. Allow me at this juncture to introduce to you one of the moderators who will introduce the first presenter of this public lecture. And this is none other than Reverend Father Dr. Joseph Mary Sebunya. Father, I will ask you to stand up and we welcome you officially. Please take your seat. Reverend Father Dr. Joseph Mary Sebunya and his colleague, whom I will introduce later, these are very big men to just compress and summarize in a short time. But I will try my best to say a few things about Father Dr. Joseph Mary Sebunya. He was ordained priest in 2003 and currently is a lecturer and formator at St. Mbaga Major Seminary. He is the head of the Faculty of Theology at St. Mbaga, and in the diocese is the coordinator of Kampala Archdiocese Children and Youth Development. Father Dr. Sebunya is a distinguished theologian and formator. After his seminary studies at the Nswanjere Preparatory Seminary and Chisubi Minor Seminary, he went to St. Mbaga, where he obtained a diploma in philosophy and a Bachelor of Philosophy from Urbaniana University, an internal diploma in theology, and a Bachelor of Theology from Urbaniana University in 2003. From 2006 to 2009, he pursued a licentiate in biblical theology at the Santa Croce University in Rome, and later proceeded to John Paul II Institute of Lateran University, where he obtained a doctorate in biblical theology in 2013. Dr. Sebunya has, in the course of his studies, distinguished himself as an intelligent learner, an assiduous reader, and a linguist. He was the best student of his class at St. Mbaga in 2003, and the best student in biblical theology at Santa Croce University in Rome. Among the several awards obtained, I wish to mention just a few outstanding ones: a certificate in German from the Goethe Institute in Bonn, Germany, a certificate in Italian from the Santa Croce University in Rome, a certificate in Classic Hebrew and Greek from the Duke University of USA. I think that's particularly interesting to our students who enjoy those subjects. And lastly, a certificate in the Free Market and Ethics from the Acton University, Michigan in the USA. Dr. Sebunya has served as a member on several boards of governors of schools and hospitals. It suffices to mention but a few: Lubaga Hospital, Kampala Archdiocese Land Board, and Board of Consultors of Kampala Archdiocese. These are just among the few I can mention. So I don't have much time to exhaust all. I would like to invite you at this juncture to introduce to us the first presenter of today's public lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our MC, for those kind words of introduction. You made the CV longer than it sounds. I thank the guest of honor and the keynote speaker and all the protocol that has been recognized. From this point on, I want to dispense the future speakers from going through all the protocol in the interest of time. If you can, you may mention our chief guest and the rest of the audience, and which I want to let you know, as our dean has told us, this audience is bigger than it looks here, because as the honorable minister said, we live in an opportune moment of technology. So we are joined, those of us here physically, by a virtual audience of so many millions of viewers that are hitting us and following us through social media, and thanks to Catholics Online for transmitting this conference live. So all of you, wherever you are, most welcome. As I said, I want to thank the organizers for this invitation. as has been mentioned, I am both humbled and honored to moderate at this public lecture. Humbled because I'm standing between distinguished men and women of academics and leadership, but also honored because even if I didn't go through the walls of this seminary, I've kind of been an associate alumnus of this seminary, because my priest who baptized me, Monsignor Kanyelezi, was a lecturer here for a long time. And about 90% of all my formators and pastors and spiritual directors in my seminary life have come from this seminary. So am I wrong to say I'm an alumnus by association of this seminary? So I hope we get that slot, associate alumni of St. Mary's, and we shall be proud to belong. And as I said, our presentations this morning are bringing together this wonderful experience of the Jubilee in a public lecture. And as you know, a public lecture is an event that kind of opens up a dialogue. In a way, St. Mary's is opening its gates and windows to the rest of society to let them know what happens here. And so whatever you're saying here, you're sure is on record, both on social media and through Zoom to the rest of the world. So can you make that message loud and clear that you are St. Mary's? Can I hear some members of St. Mary's say, we are St. Mary's? Yeah, some scouts, they normally raise their hands and say, we are St. Mary's. Yes, and we'll send that message. And St. Mary's listens to the rest of society outside. We have heard the input of the Honorable Minister, and in a few minutes, we are going to have an input from some of our very excellent speakers that have been selected on purpose. And without wasting more time, I just want us to put together this environment. I prefer that it is a familiar environment, because sometimes when people hear a lecture, they become stiff and threatened about what's going to happen. I assure you there's not going to be an examination after this. Dean of Studies assured me of that. But as you know, the best exam is in real life, as the Honorable Minister has been saying, that every moment you're here, all the inspirations that you get are going to be translated in real life. And if that's true, then we're on a very big lecture platform of the world. I want to make my own the words of the rector as he opened this session, because I find the punchline he gave uniting the lectures we are going to hear this morning. It was a quote from Pope John Paul II's letter, Novo Millennio Ineunte. You remember that? The first paragraph had these words: let us remember the past with gratitude, live the present with enthusiasm, and look forward to the future with confidence. I hope these words link together what we are going to hear in a few moments. First of all, the first session, as you have it, is entitled A History of Priestly Formation in Ggaba, Scores, Challenges, and Prospects. This is an invitation to step back in history to find reasons for thanksgiving and celebration. And as you will soon discover, no person is better suited to lead us into this discussion than our first presenter, whom I'm glad to present to you at this moment. He is a simple man of God with a great profile. He's a true son of Uganda and the church, and definitely one of the finest products St. Mary's has ever produced. He's born in Ggaba in 1956. He joined Chitabi Minor Seminary in 1970, which is the same year St. Mary's was founded. He, after his philosophical studies in Katigondo, between 75 and 78, he joined this great seminary, St. Mary's Ggaba, for theology between 1978 and 81. And he was present when St. Mary's Seminary celebrated 10 years as a student. After his ordination, he was sent to the Pontifical Urban University in Rome, where he acquired a master's degree in dogmatic theology. And for 2 years, he taught in Katigondo before returning to Rome for his PhD in dogmatic theology. In 1991, he successfully defended and published his doctoral dissertation entitled Ecclesiological Meaning of Small Christian Communities. He triumphantly returned to Uganda and was appointed lecturer at the prestigious Theologicum of St. Mary's for 2 decades, between 1991 to 2021. No, 2011. He became, as Dean of Studies, among other responsibilities here, he became a household name in this seminary. For those of you who were not here at that time, those of us who used to pass by here remember him around the compound. And when Dr. Muyingo talked of his rector, trying to imitate his rector, I could imagine how many people tried to imitate the guest speaker, the way he walked on the compound, very smartly and always on time. And he led and inspired many seminarians with his great sense of humor, winning the admiration of both students and colleagues with his intellectual, spiritual, and social qualities. He left us a legacy as one of the longest-serving staff members. He was present when St. Mary's celebrated 25 years in 1995. In 2011, he was invited to serve as Vicar General of his home diocese in Ggaba, a duty he faithfully executed for another decade until last year, 2021. He is currently serving as a parish priest at Nyachiwale Parish in Ggaba Diocese. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't exhaust the CV of our speaker, but allow me to say, can we welcome our next presenter, Very Reverend Monsignor Siverio Twinamugisha. You can keep clapping until he arrives here, okay?
I want to say my Lord Bishop in absentia, fellow priests and dear guests, religious sisters, and my brother seminarians. Good morning and welcome. I'm very glad to be here. A little nervous because I've been long out of the academic world, and I am coming from a parish where we don't face usually very academic audiences. And most of what we say is being clapped at. Everybody claps because the parish priest is speaking. Now I have to stand before you or sit before you under scrutiny. A lot has been said about me. I know it, but it was a little, yeah, it's me, it's mine. However, I add, but it's mine. Also, only that I was in St. Paul's Seminary in Kabale. Before I didn't go to Kitabi because at that time, we had begun studying in Kabale, but my people before me went to Kitabi Seminary for their minor seminary training. Secondly, as I was here, I was also serving at the National Secretariat of the Episcopal Conference in Doctrine and Faith. So that is also part of my CV, which because the Secretary General is around, which I should pronounce, otherwise I will be considered untrue to myself. So, let me put some things out here so that I don't need to look for them when I need them for reference. Then we can move ahead. So, we are very grateful that National Seminary Ggaba has reached 50 years. 50 years of an institution is not a big thing, maybe, because an institution can live for almost forever. So 50 years is like a cup of tea, it should be. But those 50 years usually mark everything that the institution will be. The roots are in there. The stem depends on them. And so they may be short compared to the long life of the institution, but they are basic because they could have broken it and they made it. So congratulations to Ggaba Seminary. So National Seminary Ggaba began in a unique way as a national seminary. And many people knew it only as national. If you said you were going to national, we knew that you were going to the National Seminary, Ggaba. So the basic identity of my being here when I reached here was to feel that I was national. I belonged to the nation. It had a national character, and it was supposed to form priests with a national spirit, not politically, but that a person could feel at home and work with people from every part of Uganda, with the different languages, different cultures, as well as different appearances. Although we may look very different, however, we should know that we are all black. Black is our identity. One day we had a parish priest, and he was my rector, but at that time he was parish priest, and he was from Germany. So one of the people around laughed at his fellow Ugandan and said, "You are black like charcoal." And the man was surprised. He said, "Ha!" And he said it loud. He said, and the kettle said to the pot, "Your bottom is black." And for the people didn't understand, but I understood, and I was full of laughter. How can you tell an African, you are very African? So to be African is to be black. And we should be proud of being black. If you want to know a few details about the blackness of the Bible, you can ask Monsignor Lokel to tell you what he has written about. I used to like talking about the black aspect of the Bible, or whatever you may call the African aspect of the Bible, and the Cush character of the Bible, or the Cushite. So the journey to the formation of this seminary was rather long and dramatic. You can read a lot about it. It was thought about way back in the mid-1960s, when the bishops of Uganda felt the need to create an institution that would form a united clergy in Uganda. To form a united clergy in Uganda. So in 1964, the bishops agreed that the final aim of the Uganda hierarchy is one national seminary with an African rector for all candidates to the priesthood. That was during their plenary meeting of the 17th of April, 1964. So the first rector here was an African. And he had to look after different nationalities, some white, some black, who were staff members here. But it was a commitment by the bishops. Let us have a national seminary with an African rector. That might seem to be a small thing, but it was a commitment that made the character of the seminary outstanding, and it was then possible to have a seminary that was really African and Ugandan to form a national priest, united and full in solidarity with other priests in this nation. Secondly, the church wanted priests who were adequately formed, diocesan priests that were adequately formed. The word adequate is pregnant. What do you mean by adequate? That had enough formation to live and work as priests. It is one thing to work, but it is also another thing to live. Because you could work, but the priesthood is not lived at all. So this desire to have a national clergy built on unity and solidarity, bringing together diverse languages in Uganda and the cultures that go with them, it was really important that if the clergy could move together in one direction, and the different so-called tribes were to be themselves and positively contribute to the formation and to the development of our people as Catholics and as Christians, Uganda would be a wonderful mosaic of cultures, but especially a special synergy would come out that would prepare us to a new independent identity, grounded on the example of the Uganda Matters, as Pope Paul would put it in his in what he writes on the occasion of the Uganda Matters, as when you read in the breviary on the 3rd of June, for the 3rd of June, that a new culture and a new people it needs to come out in Africa from the example of the Uganda Matters, so that a new culture, a new people, a new church is born that is like the Uganda Matters. Little, small, insignificant they could have been, but they worked together, they moved together in solidarity to be and to act like Christ, carry his cross joyfully and firmly until they died for their faith. No persuasion would make them go away. You are young. Why can't you leave these people? Kizito, you are young. I can't protect you. Say, no, I'm going with my friends. And we are going to die like our master. So the Pope was very much impressed. And it is this church that we need to look at. What are the Uganda Matters to us? Who are they? And what are we doing with this identity and this solidarity that we could form and be leadership for a new society that is inspired by the life of the Uganda Matters? Not only the life, but also the death. But their life and death are together, because even their death is a birth into a new life. And it is a birth that has inspired many. For me, I was disturbed when I heard that some people had moved on foot from Kabale to this place. They were 13 in number in 2009. And there was a little man, a small man, saying, "Yes, I have moved on foot, and I'm here." And I looked at him, I said, "Is something wrong in your head, or you are right?" But the man had walked, and he was here on foot. And for me to walk to Kampala town, to Kampala city is too much. And here he was. And every year people are walking this way. This is the new Uganda that we can see growing up. As things are moving around, problems are faced by others and created by many more others. A group of people take the Uganda Matters as their example, and they do things that would not expect people to do. Secondly, Uganda had previously had 3 major seminaries, and they belonged to the 3 major missionary societies that had evangelized us. Katigondo was called St. Thomas Aquinas Major Seminary, and it belonged to the White Fathers, or to the missionaries of Africa. And it had students not only from Uganda, but also some from Tanzania, Bukoba, which was also under the White Fathers at that time. So the second one was the one of the Mill Hill missionaries, which was called St. Mary's Major Seminary, Ggaba, and it was next door. And this was for the areas that began with Zambia eastwards, including Jinja, Tororo, even Lugazi, of course, then Soroti, and then some parts of Western Kenya. We had also another one of the Komboni missionaries, or we used also to call them the Verona Fathers, and they had a seminary in Gulu, and it also served the areas under the Verona Fathers in northern Uganda. So each seminary had its own emphasis, had a full-fledged staff, and it had its own character. And when the time came for forming major seminaries, these were generally to be turned into national seminaries, but it did not always happen. But successfully, Katigondo became a national seminary, and the Ggaba, however, was created as a national major seminary, and students, the first students who came here, were supposed to be from all the seminaries, and it became a combination of students and staff coming from different areas. And this was challenging. The first students did not find it very easy to cope with the situation, because you have all these staffs with different backgrounds, and the rector who was chosen, he must be African, and it was a challenging situation. So this seminary, which replaced the other missionary seminaries, it began, but it was a difficulty for the people who began, and it is understandable that it was not easy to patch up together these people to form one seminary. Thanks be to God, the experiment and the project survived those years. So what happened on the 9th of February, 1966, an Episcopal building committee for the new seminary was appointed, and it was headed by Bishop Vincent Macaulay of Fort Portal, assisted by Bishop James Odongo of Tororo and Bishop Adrian Chivumbi Dungu of Masaka. This was the original team. After the committee had explored the two sites, that is in Nsambya Hill and Ggaba Hill, given by the Archbishop Emmanuel Nsubuga of Kampala Archdiocese for the construction of the seminary, the bishops settled for Ggaba Hill. And that is where we are today. More to that, something influenced the way the seminary was built. In the 60s, an earthquake struck Fort Portal and destroyed the cathedral. And Bishop Macaulay had to build a new cathedral and I think other buildings. And these had to be earthquake-proof. Do you say earthquake-proof? Yes. And our building is supposed to be earthquake-proof as well. That is why it looks a bit like an aeroplane, has pillars on the outside, and water runs all around it, but does not enter it many times, and so forth and so on. Few good things also are in this area, in the architecture. For example, the chapel is on top and at the center. Jesus, God, is the center of this place and is the head of this community. And in the beginning, those who were here thought that there was an idea to build all around this building and have the communities just going in from different angles, coming to the chapel and to the dining. But the idea was not accepted by some people. They thought, since there is land, let us build at a bit of a distance so that when there is something happening in the houses, it does not also sound in the chapel and so forth, and in the lecture hall. And so a bit of distance was created between the common building and the residences. And I think that was wise because a little bit of land is around for more constructions because of that. But it is a very unique construction, and it is community-like, bringing people together around and up for their prayers of the people. At first, it was a little teasing because we are not used to be up there in the chapel. We wanted to have a bit of privacy in the dark place, and there you are in the light, and glass is all around you. But it was a new understanding, and Christ is the light. Let us go forward, isn't it? So this is the bit of the architecture, and we are very grateful to Bishop Macaulay for what he did, having learned from the experience he had in Fort Portal and out of the love he had for the formation of priests in Uganda. And as the seminary went on, a number of gaps were realized. And some of the gaps were in the liturgy. For example, when we arrived here in 1978, there was no benediction. Because some people may have believed that benediction is not liturgy. Because there is the sacrament, but maybe it is part of the sacramentals because it's a blessing. So liturgy of the hours was practically heavier on the liturgy than benediction. That when Bishop Sekamanya was rector, at that time, the benediction began. And some of us who had been so much attached to benediction, something of our spirituality was also encouraged. You could now be in benediction, and the incense comes in your nose and then in your breathing, and the devotion was felt and smelled as well as seen and participated in. One of the big contributors of the Ggaba spirit and bringing the students together was Monsignor Alex Mukasa. He had a way of gently putting together the different mentalities of staff members and of students. He had some humorous way of making corrections. For example, one day we were having a rector's talk, and he told us what he had seen before. He said, I think it was last Friday, there was a rector's talk, and as you had just left, I gathered my books, and as I was going out, a number of students were walking triumphantly for breakfast, having missed the rector's talk. So when people heard triumphantly, they did not feel very triumphant. And attendance of rector's talks became more serious. That is the way he used to take us and become very serious, but having brought the point in a way that made us also happy, not always very sad. The objectives of solidarity and unity among the students had many challenges, and some of the challenges were political. And what I observed at that time is that the students that were here, as well as in other places, Ugandans, we tended to personalize problems. And we thought that when one person goes, the problems will go. The problem is that persons went and the problems have stayed and remained. Some politician and some military man one day I asked him, but there are things which we see and they are very strange. A government comes and some problems for some time disappear, but they come back. What is the problem? He said, my dear friend, governments have similar ways of defending themselves, and they may only change in personality, but the defense mechanisms are the same. So how can we move from this personalization of problems and we see an internalized way of understanding and correcting as well as solving such problems so that they don't eat deep into our unity when in actual fact they are outside us, but they become so much of our problems, and we become so part of partisan in them. We identify with them so much that sometimes they use it to poison our community life. When the politics of DP, UPC were here, some students would not greet one another like brothers. It was war. Why should it be war? Because none of us was the founder of UPC, and none of us was the founder of DP. And Jesus Christ never belonged to any of those parties. During the 1979 war, there was a lot of solidarity because we're suffering together. And even before that, we had a lot of solidarity during the celebration of the centenary of the faith in 1979, where we were part of the choirs and playing the drums from our area. I remember I played the Runyankuru Rushiga drum songs. So if you hear there are some mistakes in those recordings, know that they came from my hands. But we were part and parcel of the celebrations. But after that, things were not always easy. There came the parties, and the solidarity seems to have been thrown out of the window. But of course, not everybody got into problems, but the exaggerations were there, and these problems persist, eating at the unity of priests, of seminarians, and when we go to the field, they become even sometimes more pronounced. With some people belonging to some politician and ready to carry out plans that may be on the border of being immoral and, if not, criminal. So we were proud to be in this beautiful place that was built very well, and people would look at our buildings and would be mesmerized. And we would say, "Welcome to Ggaba. Feel at Ggaba. Welcome to Ggaba. Feel at Ggaba." But there was also something to equalize or to balance things. It was, "This is Ggaba." So in some way they will say, "Valikowa." There are people, you are very new, you will get tired, and you will be like us also. But it was wonderful to live in this place. The sports here was wonderful, and the singing in the chapel, the drums and so forth would feel very good, really. And the football, Bishop Wamika used to be a serious player of football. And one day there was a football match, and there was a Deacon Oktoi from Soroti, Etelu, I think Etelu. And he played the ball, and he missed the score. But there was a deacon standing somewhere there, and there was a strong kick from behind on him. He was a spectator, and somebody kicked him. So he looked behind, and there was a lady who had kicked him. And he looked. The lady just closed her eyes and was apologizing. But that's how it was exciting. So during those difficult times, things brought us together: sports, liturgy, and work, and studies. And life was not as bad as it may have appeared, but it was beautiful, and we appreciate the national character that this seminary brought to us. You no longer saw tribes as maybe policemen and military, and others as maybe your administrators whom you had grudges about. You saw people as individuals with their strengths and their weaknesses. And this was for us a discovery, especially for us who came from upcountry. So this man comes from places where there are policemen, and he's a seminarian. Thanks be to God. So we welcomed the challenges, and we were able to live together, and we were able to meet. And some of the people who came from here kept that solidarity so much that I remember one person telling me that he was in a place, and a soldier came to check on him because they had accused him of harboring guerrillas. And his friend came, he found that they had studied together in Ggaba. They began greeting one another. He said, "Now, tell me, honestly, are there guerrillas in your place?" The man looked at him, honestly. He said, "I'm sorry to tell you, but there are some." His friend wept, and he said, "May God help you." And the army and the call team went back. They never checked him. So it was a strong solidarity among some people that went beyond even the fear of being maybe executed for failing on duty. And this person protected his friend, and they never checked him. Unfortunately, when he went to reward him for what he did, he found that he had died during the war. This solidarity, therefore, may not have been always at its best, but it was real. When I went to Pai Mall for a pilgrimage in 2010, I found seminarians from here whom I had taught, and I was at home in Guru. And this is the story I can repeat whenever I go. There are seminarians and priests. There are priests and seminarians who had studied here and priests who had studied here. And you feel that you can survive anywhere. You will be welcomed and you are at home. So I could go on talking about these things, but maybe we go to a bit of what brought us here. A bit of history is good, and I cannot exhaust all the history. Maybe what I want to tell you is that the D-Day came and the opening was done. And when the opening was done, it was also not a simple affair. It was a big day. So on October 21st, 1970, the seminary was dedicated and officially opened. Monsignor Antonio Mazza, Secretary of St. Peter the Apostle, who had played a crucial role in the funding of the buildings, was present. The government of Uganda was represented by His Excellency John Babiha, the Vice President and Minister of Animal Resources. So it was both a church and a state issue. It was history being made on the 21st of October, 1970. So when it was opened, that is what we found, and we were able to enjoy the fruits of those people who labored, and were some of the people who maybe gave it a new character. I am remaining with a few minutes, 15, but the one who is to understand, I think, has already understood. So there are challenges that we have faced. First, the seminary was to offer adequate formation. And the adequate formation has always to be adjusted to the changing times and the peoples. For example, today, all serious workers that head institutions are degree holders. And for secondary school head teachers, they must be master's degree holders. This challenge must come to us. We cannot no longer therefore say we are overbaked. When some people think that Ggaba overbakes some people, they have too many, they were a degree holder in a village. But my dear friend, overbaking is no longer possible because the times are always changing. So are we able to meet the academic and social challenges with our education? You may find that we are failing to manage some issues because of attitudes we have from our formation. How many of our priests have failed to manage the corona pandemic? And why? How many of our priests fail to manage the political situations in their places? And why? And how many priests fail to manage the workers and the people they have? And why? Sometimes you find that this seminary has formed more dictators than democrats. Why? The Bwana Mukulu. What do you mean? So in some parishes, there are no pastoral councils, or what do you call them? Parish pastoral council, what do you call it? Yeah, parish pastoral councils. Because the Bwana Mukuru is the one who says everything. He's the treasurer, he's the one who announces the decisions, he's the one who makes the decisions, he's the one who calls the shots, and so forth. So the challenge is our formation adequate, especially academic and social, to meet the challenges of our people? And there are occasions where we feel it is not. But on a happy note, yes. Because our community is one of the fastest growing, the Christian community is one of the fastest growing in the world. It means there are good people there doing a lot of good work. And the best contribution for me was from the Ggaba Pastoral Institute, which later relocated to Kenya. Because the priests who came from here were pastoral-minded and would like to see that this pastoral-mindedness gets revived and that there is a little more of democracy and listening by some of us. Because some challenges like Ebola and Corona will need to listen and adjust and do things with others. 2, prayer and liturgy. There are challenges that have come about. We have got born-again preachers and their instruments. You may have a church with 2 people, but the whole village is filled with the sound of the music, and all the little kids are running to the places. We have got the youth and the children who sometimes are left out of everything. So there are challenges, on the liturgy especially. So there are challenges, and what are we going to do? We are doing very well, but there are still challenges in there. 3, moral decadence out there, and sometimes it seems to come into us as well. Respect for the property of others, and also developing and enhancing the property of our people, of our parishes, taking care of the buildings, the cows, the goats, and so forth. You may not need to run after the cows yourself, but you are still responsible, isn't it? Because you might not be able to run anymore. But there are people who are ready to run, and you pay them a little bit, they will do what they enjoy, and they will still report to you and do a good job. Yesterday they told me they caught a thief in the banana plantation of the parish. I said, yes, what happened? They said, we gave him a little something, but we did not, because you said that we should not do harm to people and kill anybody in the parish in the name of Christ. I said, you did right, that you did not kill him, but I hope the tea was not too much. Then there is the respect for the daughters and wives of others. Some people feel that they can have 2 vocations, the celibate vocation and the uncelibate vocations. Then respect for the liberty of others, their rights to say no. Even somebody says, I don't take alcohol. If I find somebody trying to convince me, you are not a good man, why don't you take some alcohol? And sometimes I say, please, give me a break. Is this the gospel you are preaching to me? And then he says, Father, I think you are a bit too serious. But why don't you respect my right? Why? And I have never understood why people really insist on some things to that extent. Maybe you have been faring better than I, but I get myself, I said, are these people formed before or after the French Revolution? Where liberty, fraternity, and equality are what we should look at. Why do you want me to be under your will? And so, challenge number 4, multi-party politics, but I think it has already been up there. Which principles do we flaunt? Find a priest is completely under a certain politician, is ready to abuse, is ready to destroy some things, is ready to tell lies. And when you go to him, he says, no, this is this. And when you go, he's telling people the other thing altogether. Is there no morality in politics? So, can there be something, maybe in the formation, towards something that it sometimes is quite annoying and discouraging because you feel somebody should do better. And there is a challenge of the self, the three selves of Henry Vane. Building a church that is self-ministering, self-supporting, and self-propagating. Many of our communities are not yet self-supporting, and many times the problem is beginning with the leader. I have come to learn that leadership is everything. That is my slogan these days. Leadership is everything. If the people cannot be self-reliant, most likely it is because the leader is not allowing them to be self-reliant. Most important, number 5, the unity and solidarity of priests, even in dioceses, is always under challenge. As Paul was saying, some people say, I'm for Paul, I'm for Apollos, and so forth. Why should this be still persisting at this time in history? So I would like to end that we have come to a time when we need to sharpen the tools. I brought somebody to speak to the members of the leaders of the Christian communities, and he gave us a story that a man had a person going to cut trees or to cut down trees. So the first day he cut down 10. So he felt strong. The second day, only 7. He said, The other day, only 4. The other day, only 1. Said, no, I have given up, it is too much. So he went to the person who had told me with the axe. Then he said, I'm giving up, I cannot go any further. Oh, the man said, okay, but before you go, let me first look at your axe. The axe was blunt. So he said, let me first sharpen it, and then you will go back. So they sharpened it. The next day he went, he cut 11. Said, you are cutting too many. You will remain with 10 every day. This is the time we should sharpen the axe. Maybe it's getting blunt. And we are putting a lot of effort, but we are not getting results. Can we sharpen the axe? And so the tools must be sharpened. And there is a call for some professionalism in looking at ourselves. Let us look for professionals to do an evaluation that will involve all the stakeholders, students, staff, products of the seminary, there are Christians, the bishops, and so forth, maybe government officials, to evaluate us and ourselves so that we know our weaknesses, our strengths, our opportunities, and so forth. 2, that we have the goals, the vision, the goals, the objectives, and the time frame are all clearly set out, like we read in some work of the prophets. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2. So that things are clear. 3, that we get clear site plans, and with the clear site plan of this place, we put exactly where we need to put things, so that we are not repeating things every time, as we do sometimes in our parishes over there. This place looks elegant, and I'm very happy to be here. Can we make things more permanent? 4, that we set priorities, so that even when we are asking for money, we have the priorities right. And we know exactly what to begin with, where we are going next, and so forth. I could say much more, but I think the time I was given is already over. I want to thank you very much for listening to me. God bless Ggaba Seminary. God bless the order of the servants.
God bless the future of the church. God bless Ggaba. God bless. Thank you very much.
You can stay a little bit. Normally,
I was ready to go because I'm already tired, but I'm ready. I
Well,
can stay.
normally when a presentation is good, people sit and clap. But when it's very good, they stand and clap while standing. And we call that a standing ovation. And the way what they're doing is how they feel about the presentation that you've made to us. Monsignor, thank you very much. And before you sit, seminarians, as you know, we have an universal audience, which includes people with disabilities. They don't hear what you're doing, but they can see you. Can we clap for those who can't hear? This is how they clap. All right, cameraman, can you capture that wave? Yes, so for all our friends out there, we salute you and we salute our presenter. Thank you very much. You can sit down. Yes, you can see when Monsignor begins to speak, from this experience of Ggaba, you can see Ggaba live. I don't know whether you saw it live. We have a few minutes. We're supposed to be going for a break according to our timetable. But as I said, this day is Ggaba listens and Ggaba speaks. I want to give a few opportunities to some of you to talk back, to respond. We have got some mind-tickling thoughts from our keynote speaker. You remember, he left us some questions. And the presenter has highlighted some of the things that have happened in Ggaba over years. How do you feel about them? As I said, we are being open, we are being familiar, but we are being objective and real because we want to move the next 50 years. And that's how we are going to go about it. What do you feel? I'm giving opportunity to a few, 2 to 3 people. Yes, Dr. Kaboye, Father Chimbo here, and I'm going to ask that, where are my aides with the microphone? I need someone to move with the microphone very fast. Assistants, team. Mr. Siempa is here, and our vocations director. We shall take that. So we shall come back in the next session. Number 1, briefly tell us who you are, because we are capturing you online. And be brief and to the point. Thank you.
I'm Father Charles Senyondo. I'm a teacher of dogmatic theology, which our presenter also is. He taught me dogma. Here.
All right.
I would like to thank you for the wonderful presentation. Beautiful. Everything was touching. But mostly to me was what you said about sharpening our tools. That touched me more than the rest. And I would like you to know, you to help me to identify which tools need sharpening and which tools can help us sharpen these tools. Thank you.
Thanks for being brief and dogmatic. Yes, Father Chimbo. You can speak from where you are.
Thank you, Monsignor Silverio Twino. I'm Father Emmanuel Kimboa. When I was from Swanjera, I went to Chisubi Seminary. And in Chisubi Seminary, our ultimate goal was to go to Katigondo. Instead, I didn't go there. I went to Sentimbaga, and from there I continued God's ways. We used to see you anyway at Sentimbaga, an elegant man here and all that. I'm happy that you are able to reproduce that picture of the Ggaba of those days as you are young, elegant men, young men here to us today. But you have talked about many things that affected or that influenced or that you experienced the politics and the sports and so on. I wanted you to throw more light on the internal leadership here. When you talked of leadership here, you talked of an African lecturer, but in the course of the years as seminarians here or as lecturers, vice rector of Dean of Studies, I wanted you to share something of your experience as regards electing students leaders in this seminary. Thank you.
All right, you are going to move to Mr. Siempa. We're allowing you to speak from where you are.
Thank you. My name is Robert Siempa. I am a former Savakristo of Kampala Archdiocese. Thank you very much, Monsignor, for that wonderful presentation. There is one thing I want to comment on, and maybe you can throw more light on it. I am a graduate of leadership. You talk so much about leadership and society, how leadership affects everything, how leadership causes the fall of everything, and how everything rotates around leadership. I think that was a very good point, which I wanted further to comment further on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Father, right here, and take this, and then we shall take a few of those.
Thank you, MC. My name is Philip Lokel. I come from the Diocese of Kotido in Karamoja. I traveled the whole day yesterday to be personally present in this function because I thought it was a very, very important function as we have all witnessed from the presentations this morning. I have my own experience, of course. I've been a priest for over 30 years, in fact, more than 36 years. So during this time, definitely when you are celebrating 36 years, you have shot your pastoral bullets. Some have landed on target, others have not. And I want to thank Father Silverio for his beautiful, beautiful presentation. I hope we shall all take note of the things he said. He also talked about Africanness, and I did something in Bible about blacks. In the Bible, there is a lot, but all of which, all those texts speak positively about blacks, about Africans. And of course, I don't have the material time to share with you those insights. Otherwise, we would be till the chickens come to roost, as they say. But allow me, Mr. MC, Father MC, maybe to contribute one or two things in line with what Father Monsignor Silverio was sharing.
You're welcome. As briefly as you can.
You know, we are here for this function in the context of the Golden Jubilee celebrations. Now, it is usually customary to celebrate, as you know, 25 years, 50 years, 75 years, 100 years, and so on, as Jubilee years. And following the Levitical practice, these are usually years of restoration, reparation, and renewal. And so also in the context of the church, in the context of the seminary as a community, So this is a time, I think, for us to consider seriously those three things: restoration, reparation, and renewal. In other words, when you reach the landmark of 50 years, and in the case of Ggaba, as Monsignor Sylvester rightly pointed out, I think it is no longer business as usual, because you are thanking God for the past, celebrating the present, and looking forward to the future. So, in my view, the basic question really now for Ggaba, and indeed for us as church, is to ask ourselves the fundamental question: what is it in this great institution which requires restoration, reparation, and renewal? The previous speakers have clearly pointed out of the need to return to the roots, to the core values, or the raison d'etre of this institution, and I tend to fully agree with them. But of late, His Holiness Pope Francis has talked about clericalism. I want really to point this out as an addition to what Monsignor Silverio pointed out, the issue of clericalism as we look forward. And I'm glad the Pope gave a beautiful explanation of this. And he says that he alludes to this there is a new small booklet, I think the gift of priestly formation of vocation. And let me just say, and he said that seminarians who are supposed to be formed in the spirit are supposed to be formed in the spirit of the gospel and in an intimate relationship with the Lord. But because of clericalism, this has not always been the case. What we have instead is now what he calls spiritual worldliness. And the Pope explains and says, this means obsession with personal appearances. One, a presumed theological or disciplinary certainty. Narcissism is when someone is too concerned about their appearance or abilities and spends too much time admiring those appearances. And just 1 minute, I am concluding.
Okay, the time is out, Father.
Okay.
Of time.
Okay, thank you. So that's I wanted to point out and at the last word, and then I sit down. And it includes authoritarianism. That's the urge to control others. And so on and so forth. Thank you. In life.
For the purposes of this convention, we are going to have a write-up. So please, if you have some of those, can you present them to our panel? We are going to have them on record.
Okay, sorry for taking time.
I want you to clap Father Philip because he's traveled all the way from Kotiga to be here in person. I think that's the special spirit of St. Mary's. Thank you for being with us. And the timekeeper is not very, is on my asking. All right. The timekeeper is granting me time after lunch. We are going to have a general discussion of all this. And I'm asking before you forget, kindly, I saw some hands going up. Write down all these inputs or questions and bring them here at the table. We are going to give them to the panelists so that they can answer together and holistically. I think that's okay in the interest of time. I know we have a lot of ideas and inputs which can be done in the setting that we have. So kindly accept that. And Father, I think Monsignor, have taken note. We are going to be going for the break, but we are going to bring you back. And together with other presenters, have another panel discussion after lunch. So please, members, before you go, please note those questions that you had and bring them to us. I hand you over to the MC, and thank you very much for attending actively this session.
Thank you very much, our dear presenter and moderator. I would like to announce that we are halfway into the time of the break. So from here we shall go for a break, have a cup of tea, glass of water, and we shall extend our second session by 15 minutes. So we shall come here at 11:45. 11:45. And when we come back here, I would ask the other presenters to take their seats on the other side, and our other moderator to take his seat here. I will introduce the other members when we come back from the break. So we are going to the students' dining hall. That's where we shall have our break. So without wasting time, we can move. And those of you who want to use the washrooms, they will be outside here. The students will direct you. The ladies may be allowed to use the offices. Sister Stella, you will help the ladies to show them your places. So let's have a break. Thank you.